The future is looking very bright for games, with still some bangers to look forward to this year, and don't forget that some 2022 titles are still unannounced. This week new rumors indicated that The Last of Us Remake is coming this holiday season, and on the Xbox side they are planning a Gears of War collection for a June reveal and a 2022 release. But in 2023 things are going to get real crazy. Spider-Man 2, a new Dragon Age, that Black Myth Wukong game you've likely seen a couple of times, is also planned for next year, and this is next to the recently announced and delayed games. Well, now we learned about even more future titles, including big new open world RPGs that are coming, and Take-Two is planning over 30 games by 2025, and I think I know some of them. So it's time to go over. Of course, if you like these big Sunday videos, then leaving a like would really be awesome. And subscribe, because every Sunday I post a big rumor and news roundup video like this. So let's get into it. What you see here is the first ever concept art for a new IP from Techland. They of course just released Dying Light 2 and they will continue to support that for 5 years, just like the original. We even got a new roadmap recently revealing free story content and also the first paid DLC that will now drop in September. It was delayed a bit, but it's still coming. Overall, I think enough reasons to jump back into the game here and there. But alongside the Dying Light 2 support, they're now beginning to work on a fully next-gen fantasy epic set in a sprawling open world fueled by the skills and experience we've gained as a team over the years. So yeah, for one, this means no Dying Light 3 for a long time, but instead a Skyrim-like open world RPG, of which we're, by the way, getting quite a lot, looking at Avowed that Microsoft has planned, next to, of course, the Elder Scrolls 6. But yeah, I think it's exciting that they're trying something new, and it would be awesome if they're bringing the parkour and more action-focused gameplay to an RPG like this that is mostly more about stats than raw skill. They also got some Witcher developers on this game. Kevin, who previously worked as an animation supervisor at Guerrilla Games, also joined Techland. He started in March 2022. So they really just started the development, and they're also looking for a ton of extra people. So yeah, it will likely be a while before we see it, but totally worth keeping an eye on. Just like Take-Two, which I'm sure we're all following already. I still wish that Rockstar, who's of course owned by Take-Two, would make more single-player content. I kinda miss the era where we would get Red Dead Redemption in May 2010, and then LA Noire the year after that, Max Payne 3 in 2012, so the year after that, and then GTA 5 in the year after that. Of course, this also brought GTA Online, and that changed everything, and I still think that that's going to happen with many games this generation, that instead of launching multiple iterations, like multiple Assassin's Creed games in one console cycle, they will just build upon one game or platform they launch with regular content instead. Now, that's not what I want to talk about in this video. I want to look at 2K, because luckily they are still releasing many titles, with the Until Dawn spiritual successor The Quarry dropping June 10th, and then Marvel Midnight Suns, the XCOM style game, later in the year. The second Tales from the Borderlands game is also still coming in 2022, according to a recent tweet, and they overall say 24 immersive core titles between now and April 2025, which the end of their fiscal year 25. And I could see why I would say, what is an immersive core title? That's a game that has the deepest gameplay and the most hours of content. Their sport games fall into this category, Rockstar games, but also recently released titles like Wonderlands. Now real quick, Wonderlands exceeded their expectations. 30% of the Tiny Tina players never played a Borderlands game before, which is huge because it of course plays a lot like Borderlands. And yeah, seems like we will be getting a second game in the series, which I think is exciting. I really enjoyed Wonderlands, and I hope they can give it more of an own identity. Now, with Borderlands 3 being almost 3 years old, it launched in 2019, you would think that Borderlands 4 is coming as well before that April 2025 window. But also Bioshock 4. It was announced at the end of 2019 and it's in development at a new 2K studio called Cloud Chamber. There are still some Bioshock veterans there, but the mastermind Ken Levine is not involved. He's still working on his own project for 2K, although earlier we learned that this project is likely in development hell because of a constant focus shift and content being scrapped. So while that title started development way before the new Bioshock, I would not be surprised surprised if we saw the new Bioshock launch before Ken Levine's game. One of the narrative directors on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Mel, has been an associate creative director on this title for almost 3 years now, so it has been in development for a while. Like, it would be awesome to already get a tease around Summer Game Fest in June, just so we know what the setting will be. Although one leak suggests it takes place in the 1960s in Antarctica, in a city called Borealis. It should obviously be connected to the previous titles. 2022 was the aimed release date, with also the GeForce Now leak that has been right many times before, calling it Bioshock 2022, but it really seems that Take-Two is not expecting a big title before April 2023, so I think it will launch a little after that. Now, Take-Two is also publishing an action RPG with Moon Studios, behind the 2 Ori games that are of course very well received, and they hope that this action RPG will set new standards. I think it could be pretty cool, but it's likely still some time off, just like the brand new Mafia game. I talked about it already in a previous Sunday video, how Kotaku reported that it's still in early development, the codename is Nero, and it's expected to be a prequel to the Mafia trilogy. And since then we got some new rumors from the Xbox Era podcast about how it will take place in Sicily, a region in Italy, and will focus on Don Salieri's family at the turn of the 20th century. We of course saw Don Salieri in the Mafia Definitive Edition, and this new game might actually be more linear again, where Mafia 3 went more open world. Things could of course change as it's still early, but these are recent rumors, and I would not be surprised if they went for a more linear approach, because Take-Two of course also has GTA 6, which might actually launch before this. Not really surprising, but in a recent blog post talking about the GTA 5 next-gen version, they said that they were pleased to confirm that active development for the next entry in the Grand Theft Auto series is well underway. And now we got 2K saying that they expect fiscal year 24 and 25 to set even higher net bookings than the upcoming year, implying that they got really big games planned for a release between April 2023 and April 2025. So personally, I think Bioshock and maybe even Borderlands 4 are already next year, while GTA 6 is probably going to be 2024. Next to that, they also got a new remasters planned over the next 3 years, basically new iterations of previously released titles, so remakes count here as well, and we know that Max Payne 1 and 2 are getting bundled and are being remade by the Control and Alan Wake studio Remedy. And we also got rumors of a remaster for Red Dead Redemption and maybe a next-gen version for Red Dead Redemption 2. Would actually be weird if Rockstar skipped that franchise, because it now sits at 67 million in total, and 44 million of that is Red Dead Redemption 2 selling 5 million units in the last 12 months, which is pretty wild. Like right now we're in the start of a new console cycle, which is always really slow in terms of new releases. Combine that with COVID, that of course delayed everything. But 2023 really seems to pick up the pace, with it probably continuing and maybe not stopping for many years after that. We namely learned about another 2024 game, Greedfall 2. So a sequel, or actually a prequel, as it takes place 3 years before the first title. Like, this RPG from 2019 was surprisingly great. It's made by a small team, but with really excellent writing and fun combat, so I really enjoyed it despite the shortcomings. It also sold 2 million copies, which is really big for a studio like this. We now got a small trailer for this new game. We now play a native of Tier Freddy, while in the first game we would learn about this magical island as an outsider. So now we get to see the conflict that took place before the first game started. We will explore the old continent with its bigger and more diverse environments, meet new companions and new factions, and I hope they will have unforgettable adventures. After Greedfall, they started working on Steel Rising, a Souls-like game, so that will be out on September 8th, and after that they will really focus on Greedfall 2. Oh, and seems like we're getting Death Stranding 2 as well, with Norman Reedus casually dropping in an interview that we just started the second one. And after that, Kojima posted this tweet saying, "Go to your private room, my friend," with some photos. Basically confirming it, right? I personally would have liked Kojima to move on. I know there are quite a lot of fans of Death Stranding. I only really liked the action parts with the inventory on your back. I thought that was really smart, but if you played the game, you know these parts were really few and far between. And I wanted to get to that next main story beat with the cool cutscenes, but before I could get there I had to run around collect a ton of cargo. Wasn't really for me. Maybe to take the feedback to heart, like I think they could improve a ton for a sequel, and we already saw some cool implementations in the director's cut. So the sequel could be really cool. I am curious if it will be like a PlayStation exclusive again, or it might launch like on PC day one as well, because I don't think Sony was really happy with the performance. And this coming week is going to be very interesting, because by the time I publish the next Sunday video, for if you're watching later, we should have the first trailer for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Fallen Order, because rumors point to it being announced at the Star Wars Celebration starting May 26th. Also, rumors suggest that it's going to be next-gen only. It will launch in either February or March 2023, and it's still kind of wild that we're so close to the first look at the game. I can't wait. We'll probably make a separate video about it. We'll very likely make a separate video about it, so look forward to that. We'll also be covering the new Valhalla update that is dropping very soon, and we might have a good reason to boot up Origins, because the 60 FPS update leaked in the PlayStation database, always kind of hinting that it will drop in the next few days. And Roller Champions, the new Ubisoft free-to-play, kind of Rocket League style game, is also dropping on May 25th. We'll be streaming that. Liked what I played before, so curious how that all shakes out. And I also talked about that game in my big 2020 games that you might not know about video. So we already talked about the big games. This is more a list of games that is still worth your attention, but yeah, that you might not have on your radar before. You can watch that by clicking on the screen. Subscribe for more of these Sunday videos. Leaving a like would really help me out, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.